Hey, what's up, Bloomfield? Today, welcome. We're going to be looking at solving equations and inequalities with fractions and without fractions and kind of look and see what the differences are. So this was what we were working on, 1.2, the worksheet. We're going to do a couple of these, and here we go. All right, so here for problem number 4, just like the same process, exactly what we do, without fractions. We know we want to be able to combine our fractions, so we know we want to be able to combine our like terms. So I know I want to move that over there, so I know I'm subtracting 2/3 from both sides. Right? So now I have this 1 minus 2/3. So I know I'm doing the 1 minus 2/3 as far as the m's are concerned. So what is that? So in order to get that, we have to make common denominators. Well, we got to turn this 1 and make it a 3 on the bottom in order to have a common denominator. Well, we already have this minus 2. So in order to get this 1, changing the 1 to a 3, we know we have to multiply by 3. So 3 times 1 makes 3, right? So 3 minus 3/3 minus 2/3 is 1/3 m. So we have that part down so far. Now we're just going to bring down our 1/2 equals the 5/6. So we want to do the exact same thing. We want to move our 1/2, so we want to move that guy over there. So in order to move that, we know we're subtracting 1/2 from both sides. So now I have 1/3 m equals. Well, we got to figure out, how do I do that? Well, in order to get a common denominator here between 6 and 2, the common denominator would be 6. So this is still 5/6. So in order to do this, getting the 2 up to a 6, we know we have to multiply by 3. So 1 times 3 gets me to 3. Well, 5 minus 3 is 2, so that gets me 2/6. I'm just going to leave that for right now. We don't need to simplify. And yet, so this case, I got to get rid of this 1/3. So I want to just solve m, right? So in order to get rid of the 1/3, I can multiply by 3, or 3 over 1. That way they cancel out. 3 cancels 3, 1 cancels 1. And so whatever I do to this side, we know we got to do to the other side, and we're multiplying that by 3. So I get m equals, well, when we do this, 2 times 3 will give me 6. So I got 6/6, which therefore m is just 1. So we have our answer there for number 4. All right, for number 5, we know we're doing the same process. Let's get our k's together. So we want to move this 3/2 k over here. So in order to move that, we know we're subtracting 3/2 k from both sides. So now I have 1k minus 3/2 k. So I can't do that. We can't add or subtract fractions until we got a common denominator. So we got to change this 1. Well, how do I change the 1? Well, we got to change the denominator that was a 1 up to a 2. So we got to multiply by 2. So there was a 1 on top, so 1 times 2 gives me 2. So 2 minus 3/2, then the plus 5/4, that's the k. So that would give me 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1/2 for the k. And then we bring down our plus 5/4, and that is equal to 9/4. Now this one, so in order to get this, we know we have to move that away from k, so I'm moving that to the other side. Or subtracting 5/4, subtracting 5/4. So now we have negative 1/2 k equals 9/4 minus 5/4. So 9 minus 5 is 4, or 4/4, which is just 1. So we know that's negative 1/2 k equals 1. So in order to get rid of that, we got to get rid of this 1/2, or the negative 1/2. So I got to multiply by negative 2/1, or just multiply by negative 2, because that 2 cancels that 2, that 1 cancels that 1, and I'm just left with k equals negative 2. All right, for 6, 6 has a little bit bigger fractions. Looks a little bit more intimidating, but not really that bad. So once again, I got negative 9/4 n minus 1/3 n. So let's go ahead and combine our like terms here. So only way I can combine these, let's go ahead and make those both into 12. So that would be my common denominator. So in order to get the 4 up to a 12, I would have to multiply by 3. So that would mean negative 9 times 3 would be negative 27. And once this way as well, getting the 3 up to a 12, I'd have to multiply by 4. So negative 1 times 4 would give me negative 4. So negative 27 minus 4 gives me negative 31 over 12n. And then we got the rest of the equation, 7/4 n plus 39 over 5. Well, we want to do this, so once again, I got to get my n's together. So I know I have to move this guy over there by subtracting 7/4. So how do I do that? Negative 31 over 12 minus 7 over 4. These are both for n, right? So I'd have to make a common denominator. Well, the common denominator between 12 and 4 is 12. So that's already negative 31 over 12. Getting the 4 up to a 12, we would have to multiply by 3. So negative 7 times 3 would be negative 21. So negative 31 minus 21, negative 52 over 12. And that is equal to 39 over 5. Oh boy, getting big numbers here. So now I got to get rid, and we want just the n, right? We want to get rid of this mess. So in order to get rid of that, we got to find a way to cancel. So in order to cancel that, we know we are going to multiply by our reciprocal. So when I multiply, we got to cancel the 12. So that means the 12 has to be in the top. In order to cancel the negative 52, that means the 52 has to be in the bottom. So whatever I added here, I got to add on the other side. So 12 over 52, and that's negative. And so that gives me n equals. All right, always think simplify before you multiply, right? So I want to see, is there any way to simplify this? Well, I got a 12 and a 52 that I could simplify. Well, because I could divide both of these by 4, right? Or at least we know we certainly divide both of those by 2. So that gives me 39, and then 12 divided by 4 would be 3. And then I've still got the 5. And 52 divided by 4 is 13. And now I can multiply that a lot easier. So always think about simplify before you multiply, because it makes my life a lot easier. So that ends up giving me 117 over 65. And that's our final answer. So once again, think simplify before you multiply. So make it small before you make it big. And we get a little bit easier multiplication.